Hello and welcome to the second video in the GitHub Foundations course. This time we will be looking into the second section, which is GitHub entities, and it has several subsections. It's much smaller than the last time, and we will be going through it in a rather different way than the last time as well. So I will be showing you the documentation where the answers to these kind of questions they reside, and we will be going through the main points for each of them. So let's get started. Starting with personal accounts, there are two different types of them. There are GitHub free personal accounts and GitHub Pro personal accounts. For those free accounts, those are the ones that anyone can create when they create an account on GitHub. These free accounts are free of charge, as the name suggests, and it includes a lot of features out of the box, like community supports, dependable alerts, which is a feature that allows you to track the state of your dependencies, and so you know when a security issue is discovered or when you can update to a newer version of a package. It contains support for unlimited public repositories, unlimited private repositories. But for the public repositories, there are additional features that are not available for private ones in the free account. And there are some built-in free megabytes and gigabytes and minutes for packages, code spaces, and GitHub Actions. So you have these things built in. But if you want more, and if you don't want to pay the additional cost for extending those basic built-in quotas for those features, you can pay for GitHub Pro, which is a monthly subscription, which allows you to get additional quotas for all of these things that I mentioned, plus additional features for private repositories that are in the GitHub free personal accounts limited to only public repositories. So this will give you more features for the private repositories that you own. So that's the basic difference between GitHub Free and GitHub Pro for personal accounts. It's mainly about the quotas and mainly about the features for private repositories that are not part of the free version. Moving on to organizations, there are again two different organizational account types. One is GitHub Free for organizations, and the second is GitHub Team. For GitHub Free for organizations, you get unlimited number of public repositories and unlimited number of private repositories, while the private repositories are limited. And the limitations are very similar to what you get in GitHub Free for personal accounts. In addition to that, you get some quotas for actions and for packages, and you also get the ability to manage teams in your organization. So you can manage teams of people who work in your organization. When you transition to the paid version of GitHub organization accounts, which is GitHub Team, you get additional quota, so you get more action minutes, you get more packages storage, but you also get additional features for the private repositories. So that's about the similar set of additional features that you get in a GitHub Pro for personal accounts, but now it's for the private repositories of the organization. And also there is the ability to contact the GitHub support via email, so that's additional feature that you get. So again, very similar to personal accounts, you have two different types of organizational accounts as well. So finally, we get to GitHub Enterprise, which is the most premium offering for enterprises. And it has two deployment options. One is GitHub Enterprise Cloud, and the second one is GitHub Enterprise Server. The difference there is that in the case of GitHub Enterprise Cloud, your enterprise is hosted directly on github.com. And in case of GitHub Enterprise Server, you are hosting version of GitHub on your own servers. So that's specific probably for companies that want to keep their data private on their servers only. And in general case, most enterprises will be okay with having, if using GitHub Enterprise Cloud, where their data can be directly hosted by github.com. The GitHub Enterprise accounts include all the things that GitHub Team, so the paid version of GitHub for organizations, offers, but it has additional features, especially authentication with SAML single sign-on, so you can associate your company accounts with the enterprise so that people can log in using their single sign-on from the organization, which is very beneficial, of course, and many enterprises will use this to their advantage. So, of course, GitHub Enterprise Cloud specifically contains a lot of additional things like many GitHub Actions minutes, a lot of GitHub packages storage, and SLA of 99.9 monthly uptime. So there is a lot of benefits to using GitHub Enterprise Cloud itself instead of having your self-hosted enterprise solution. But I think that was the main things from the description of all the different GitHub plans. And now we will dig into in more detail into how personal accounts look on GitHub. Let's now look at the basic features of a GitHub profile. I am here on my personal account and I will be showing you the features here directly. So on the left side, on the sidebar, you can see some profile metadata, which you can edit through this button, Edit Profile, where it takes you to your personal profile edit form, where you set your bio, your pronouns, your organization, your location, and so on. And when you do this, it generates this nice sidebar that anyone can see, or you can hide things as needed. So this is the main basic part of your profile. Underneath, you have the list of people or organization that you are sponsoring. So I'm sponsoring the cool VR.net.org, which creates a website that tracks .NET creators and gives them an opportunity to share their .NET content. Underneath, you have achievements, which are kind of milestones that you can reach while using GitHub. So there are things like achievements for how many pull requests you create, achievements for having sponsored someone on GitHub. There are things like having co-authored a pull request with someone else, and so on. So this gives you kind of an achievement board that you can check back to and see how you are progressing, doing things on GitHub in public. So let's go back. Underneath, we have some highlights, so you can see that I'm using GitHub Pro. And underneath, the list of organizations that the person is part of. So I have quite a few here. When your profile or your personal account becomes a part of an organization, it will be listed here. So now on the main part of the content, you see the profile README. And the profile README can be created by creating a repository with the same name as is your username. So in this case, Martin Zygmunt is my username. So I created a repository called Martin Zygmunt. And inside of that repository, you can create a file called readme.md. And this one will be then displayed on your personal page. So when you go to your profile, it will display this specific file rendered using Markdown, which we will be describing in the next video. So stay tuned for that. Next up, you have your most popular repositories. So these are the repositories which have most stars from the repositories that you own. But you can also customize it by pinning specific repositories instead. So if you prefer to pin some specific things that you like most, you can choose up to 6 of the repositories or gists that you created and pin them to your profile so anyone can see them. Next up, you have a contribution graph, and this kind of gives you the statistics of how active and productive you are on GitHub. So This chart shows you the number of contributions per day, and specifically when you hover over specific days, you can then see the complete number of contributions on that day. Plus, the more brighter the green color, the more contributions on that date. So that kind of explains the graph. And if you want to know how it's counted, you can go here, learn how we count contributions. And there you can see the description that it counts issues, pull requests, and discussions on standalone repositories, so not on forks. So that's important, not on forks, only on real repositories which are not forks of another repository. And then it counts commits. And there are some conditions that you must use the right email address. It must be made to a standalone repository, not a fork again. So the commits will not count until they are merged into the upstream repository if you made a fork. And there are some additional rules to repository default. It must be the repository's default branch or GitHub Pages branch for GitHub Pages, which we will also be covering later. So let's go back here. One important thing is that you can change if you want to display only public contributions or also private contributions. So if you are contributing to an organization which has private repositories or you have your own private repositories, you can turn this off so that only the public contributions are visible. The contributions that are private will not be visible per se. People will not be able to see the any links to the private content. They will only see the numbers of contributions for the days. So it will not mean that you will make your private contributions public in any way, just the numbers of them. All right, so let's continue. There is a list of contributions and contribution activity, which lists kind of history of things that you have done in the recent days, and you can browse for more later by showing more activity. And I think I went through everything important. Right, there is one more thing. There are stars as well. So on your profile, you can see stars. And those are the stars that you gave to other repositories on GitHub. So, for example, you see I start the Perfview repository from Microsoft. And giving a star is very simple. You just click this button where if I click it now, I unstart. When I click again, I start that repository. And repository stars I kind of like, you can think of them as a like button where people can say, oh, I like this repository, I find it interesting, find it useful. And every repository then has this star counter. When you click it, you can see who started that repository. And it's on this URL like repository name / stargazers. So it's stargazers who are the people who are watching that repository or have liked that repository. So I go back to my profile and you can see that even my repositories have some stars, and those are the popular repositories that are displayed on your profile. So when someone stars your repository, it will show up here in the popular repositories section. So I hope I went through everything. Yeah, it seems so. So this is how your profile will look and how you can customize it by using your profile metadata and by highlighting your personal pinned repositories or popular repositories and also your GitHub README, which can be customized in many ways. And there are many nice examples of cool READMEs that you can inspire yourself from, and you can make your profile very nice and very vivid, so to speak. So that's it from this part, and I think we went through everything in this section of GitHub Foundations Certification Prep. So to summarize what we have covered today, we went through the different GitHub account types: personal, organizational, and enterprise. And we covered how you can customize your GitHub profile by including some information about you, how you can write your custom README, and how you can pin your favorite repositories to your profile. So I hope this video was useful to you. If you want to get notified about the future videos, please subscribe to my channel. And until next time, keep coding and see you next time. Bye bye.